All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Power F1. It is time for round 10 of the Pro Series here. It's going to be around the Marina Bay circuit. I'm your host today, Logan, formerly known in the past as Logan Power for the Power F1 league racing session. But today it's going to be something a little bit different because I'm sitting here for the first time in a long time ready to commentate a race session. We've got quite a few drivers on the grid ready to go today. I believe this was almost like a last minute sort of, or not last minute, sort of last decider on track of what they're going to be doing today. I managed to take a few notes and everything to get myself caught up a little bit on what could be happening within these sessions. The session is about to get underway here in about 20 seconds. The drivers are all going to get in there. I believe it's a full qualifying session. It's been switched to a short qualifying session as there's 14 drivers today going to be on the grid. If you add in myself, that's one spectator as well. So it's going to be a 31 lap race around this circuit. I'm going to bring you over now just to a live little area of the standings to see where we're currently at. So I've had a little bit of note taking done before the session has began. I do apologize if we're not quite up to scratch as what we were a few years ago. I mean, it's been like what, 2, maybe 3 years nearly since I've actually sat here and watched the race and been able to speak to everyone here who could be watching at home, or maybe you're getting ready to start your quali yourself and you've got it up in the background. Welcome all here. Before I go through this, I do want to add in just something a little extra here. We've got one of the drivers on the grid known as TC, and I want to give him a massive congratulations. This week there, he has brought into the world a beautiful baby boy. So if he's struggling out there on the track today, please do excuse him. I'm sure the man has had little to no sleep since the baby was born. But as far as my notes and everything goes, when we're looking at the standings and everything, currently Tixie is at the top of the standings, followed by Persigali. There's a nice little fight going on between McLaren and Mercedes, even in the constructors there. And that fight for the first in the driver's standings is actually between two of our Flying Finns. Both Finnish drivers. There is 6 points of a difference between them. And there is, including this round, there's 3 rounds to go of the championship. So they're really excited. After this, it's going to be Bahrain, followed then by Abu Dhabi. And then if we look down as well, we've got the likes of Roy and Jan, who are currently even on points. So they're even on points. They're looking forward to get a little bit of a fight going on as well. And we've got another driver in here. I've done a little bit of research on some of the individuals. So we've got the likes of, say, TC. He's still only our only American driver on the grid. We've got Gamma B here, who I've heard this guy can be incredibly fast. I just want to check here that he is in our lobby. He is the Aston Martin there. We're actually on board with him at the minute. I'm going to stay on the standing screen for just a little bit longer, and then we'll get back into the session. It's a short qualifying, so they're not going to have too long to put this together and around this track. It's also had a little bit of a change happen since I've last commentated it. Now we don't go under the bridge. See, this is how long it's been. Now it's just a big long straight, very high speed, very fun to race around. Good overtaking opportunities as well, and overall it just makes the track flow that little bit better. But what I've heard about Gamma B, he's a very fast driver, and he had a little bit of an unlucky streak going on. I mean, he got pole in Jeddah, and due to dirty air and everything like that, ended up actually DNFing from the session. For our times we're going to be looking for in the qualifying session here, we're looking at possibly an average of in around a 128, maybe a high 127. You know, it's a 5-kilometer circuit. They've got 23 corners to throw this car around. It's bumpy street circuit is exactly what it is, and it's humid. You know, it's hot out there. Obviously, with these guys being sim racers, they're in the comfort of their home. They may not be, you know, sitting in the actual car themselves, but they'll still be sweating by the end of this session. I'm gonna bring you guys over to the main stream, or the main scene that we have planned for today. I'm also keeping a little bit of an eye on the YouTube chat. So for everyone who's sitting at home watching along, welcome. It's good to have you all along here. But currently 15 minutes in this qualifying session. It's going to be a short session, 14 drivers on the grid. You know, it's a very hard on tires, this track, you know, for overheating and stuff like that. with it being quite bumpy. It's very warm and everything. Another little thing to note, there is also, with this circuit, high chance of safety cars being a street circuit, similar to the likes of Baku and even the streets of Monaco and stuff. There's always a high chance for a safety car. Anything can happen. From my past knowledge, I mean, the last real commentary session I did was back in F1 2020. We're still going to stay on board here with Gamma B just for a little while he's starting his first fast lap of this session. But it was very, very basic. You know, you had your tire degradation, you kept an eye on that, overheating, just, you know, all your standard stuff. But from what I've heard as well, we have even a little bit more in depth at the moment, as engine heating can be an issue. You know, sometimes we're going to see some of these drivers moving off the racing line. If they're following throughout the race in a bit of a DRS train, they're going to want to move off a little bit just to maybe cool down the engine a little bit. So currently, as the session's going on, 14 minutes left in the session, we have our first qualifying time at the minute by Bradley. It's a 1:29.1. There's definitely a lot more time to be gained there by him in the Williams. Gamma B, we're still on board with him at the minute. We're going to switch to a up close and personal cam. We're going to stay on board with him as he's going through this final lot of the track. We also have the likes of Verkins, who's currently on a fast lap at the moment. I believe, if I'm not wrong, Verkins is still the only keyboard user. That's right, keyboard. You know, everyone's sitting here with maybe a controller, maybe even they've got their wheels all hooked up, and Never Gamma's going to put it across with a 1:28.9, so a little bit faster than Bradley, but there's definitely going to be time to gain there. But yeah, Verkins being one of the only keyboard drivers I've ever had the privilege to drive with, to commentate over, and so forth. It's going to be nice to see what he can do. I mean, back in the day, whenever I was driving, I had a little bit of trouble against him. Yeah, he was really quick. You know, for a keyboard driver, you would not expect that. Currently on board with TC as he's going to slide out, lose the wheel. I was not expecting that on the last corner. Just about lost the rear end. Kicked out on him. He couldn't get control of it, into the wall. It's going to be yellow flags out on sector 1 there. That's unfortunate. I'm going to boil that down to the lack of sleep for TC. So he's not going to be able to get in a time for this session. So if no one else DNFs and everyone manages to put a time on the board, he is going to be starting from the back of the grid. Not exactly what Bradley, his teammate, was wanting there. James come across the line from Mercedes with a 1:29.1 there. Not a bad lap at all. Let's see who else we can get on board with at the minute. We can maybe have a look further down the field to one of the Red Bulls, one of my close friends, and one of the reasons, honestly, you have me sitting back here commentating over a race. It's Rickety. So currently online with him in Red Bull. Persigelli crosses the line from Mercedes there with a 1:28.6. Really starting to cut it down now. These are now all the first laps of everyone, so they will be changing about. Tixie's going to take over for that. We're not going to get too excited about the times that are being put on the board just now. We're going to wait till a little bit further into the session when everyone's got their banker laps down. They're looking at where they're positioned. They're seeing how they're going to perform and everything. Rickety then last sector, nice and tight over the curb. Using as much track as he's got, he's only going to be able to put it in for P7 with a high 1:29. So as I said, we're not going to get too excited over some of these laps that's being put out at the minute. And also, please do bear in mind, it's been a while for me, so if I'm not keeping up with all of the action during qualifying, was never really my strong suit. Especially also being a solo commentator, I used to have, you know, a couple guys with me, or at least one there. A little bit squirrely there for Shadow though, in the AlphaTauri, or what will soon be known as the RB. I mean, how does everyone else feel about that new livery that they're putting on the RB? I pretty much just feel it's back to Toro Rosso. But we're going to see what he can do. Currently in P10, hasn't set a lap here as he's going to go past, I believe that was Gamma B. He was going past in the Aston Martin. It's going to be coming into the pit. This is what happens when you don't have telemetry and stuff on the screen, keeping an eye. It's all very, very new. This is actually one of my first sessions to even watch. Never mind just you know, to commentate and everything. Probably should have spent a little bit more time spectating races and getting close to grips with the way this feels. I mean, today I downloaded F1 23 for the first time. So it's been a long time. There we go, look at that. Look at that. Add an extra few things to your screens. You'll see everyone obviously qualifying on the soft tire. Let's put in the telemetry so we can see just how hard these guys are pushing throughout each of the sectors. You can see the way they're all adjusting. I believe there's not many drivers here that are using any form of assists. So you'll see as they're coming into the corner, they'll be braking nice and hard, getting the car rotated, you'll see there, and then just slightly getting the throttle on, trying to keep the car straight. Just keep that planted to the ground. I mean, this track is very humid out there, so tires sticking isn't going to be a problem. But, you know, overexerting them and really using them up, that's where we start to have a few issues there. A couple yellow flags out in Sector 2. I know he's going to be crossing the line up into P5 for him. So right behind his teammate, Gamma B, for the Aston Martin. So the minute currently as running, we have Tixi on provisional pole, followed by Persigelli, Rocco, Gamma B, and Roy there, P5. That's your top 5 at the moment. A few of the drivers in the pits, a few of them getting ready for fast laps. I believe this is Gamma B that's about to cross the line here. See if he's going to be able to improve. Getting ready, sorry, for his fast laps. We're going to see there's a Red Bull coming out there, coming out of the pits. Move along to the side, very close. Gamma B, that's going to be tough. I mean, which Red Bull was that? That was, I believe, that was Rocco. So they're bouncing about. Gamma's not going to be happy with that at all. That looked as if it was going to be a fast lap for her. Look at the tires of Rocco as well. You can see there's a little bit more detail than what there has been in previous games, previous versions of the F1 sim. So let's hop on now with Rickety, who is currently on an out lap, one of the Red Bull drivers. Currently, I believe in the standings, is currently sitting in P5. You know, he's a very consistent driver, someone I have a lot of experience with on and off track. So we're going to stick with him for a little bit. I was speaking to him before we got into the session and was talking him up a little bit, talking him down a little bit. I was excited to see what he can do today. I know he's excited for today's session. A couple rounds left in the championship. He's currently trying to chase down the likes of James and JTK ahead of him, which is another thing to note. So JTK is one of the guys that Rickety's trying to catch up on in the Haas. I don't currently see him in the lobby. So this is a perfect opportunity for Rickety in the Red Bull to try to score some much needed points and get closer to maybe getting up into that P4 position. It's also a great chance for James as well. I mean, separating them is, I believe, if I know how to math here, I believe it's like 15 points is separating these two. So 15 points to separate there. Rickety's a little bit further behind, but he's going to get some much needed points on the board. We've got 6 minutes left in this qualifying session. We're on board with Rickety now as he goes through the first sector, up and over the curb, moving his way out to the outside, using as much of the track as he can. There's 2 cars in front of him here. They're going to want to get ready to move out of his way. Nice on the outside. The Ferrari's going to move over to the inside. Perfect from both of them. Staying out of the way while we've got a driver on his fast lap here. Nice long straight. DRS is going to be wide open down here. Heavy braking zone. Could have probably moved over a little bit closer to that inside curb. But so far he's doing quite well here with his lap. We'll see if he's moving up on time very shortly. So currently P9 on the grid. We've got our yellow flag in Sector 2. That's one of the cars that's actually off right now. Is that a Ferrari of Birkins by chance? I believe that was possibly one of the Ferraris that went off the track there. I can see it just down in the bottom right corner of the track map. So currently as it stands, we've got Virkins and TC aren't going to be finishing this session. However, Aussie's still in the pit, hasn't set a lap at the moment. We're going through Sector 3 with Rickety in the Red Bull. Using as much as that track he can. Going to get the power down now. This is the last stretch. He's going to actually dive into the pits. See who we can get on board with. A lot of drivers coming in, maybe getting ready for one last chance at getting a lap on the board. Currently it's still Tixie, who's currently in the pits, provisional P1. Not for long, because Persigelli's going to cross the line and bring that fight to him. There it is, exactly what I wanted to see. So I was talking earlier about on average we'd be looking at like a 128 area, maybe a high 127. Persigelli's just done that. He's shown us what he can do. He is on provisional pole in his Mercedes for the start of this race, which gets really exciting as far as Tixie is concerned. I mean, he's got a chance now. He can still come out and get another lap on the board if he wants to try to fight that back, or he can settle to start in behind Persigelli and try to see what he can do on the first opening laps of this session. So at the moment, only driver out on track at the minute is Shadow. He's going to be pulling himself into the pits there, and I see a McLaren coming out, and that is going to be Tixie. We're going to stick with him for a little bit. Jan's going to retire for the session. P5 is enough for him. He thinks he's got a solid hold there for that. We're going to stay with Tixie for a little bit. Currently in P2, Persigelli is his rival. Finn versus Finn. There's only 6 points separating them in the championship. This could be a much needed race for Persigelli. I mean, I believe it's actually Tixie at the minute who's currently leading. So for him to put himself on provisional pole there is going to be brilliant. Also, if you're currently sitting at home watching from YouTube right now, watching the PowerF1 stream, you know, let me know how you're doing. Let me know how I'm doing as well. Being this my first session in a long time. Also, first solo session in an even longer time. So there will be the odd little gap. That's just sometimes we have to work with that. Because talking for a full, I mean, what is this? A 20-minute session roughly, you know, back to back on little intel as well, can be quite a struggle. Hopefully it's going to be a little bit more exciting in the race, and I'll be able to bring you that, you know, that top quality content that you're looking for here today. So a little thing to note as well, you can see Tixie on the telemetry is pushing a little bit on the brakes, trying to heat the discs and everything up. Had a little chat with Rick and a few other people before the race on ways and how they're heating up the tires these days. But let's hop on the onboard camera as we watch Tixie, which is looking like going to be his final quali lap that he can put in today, using as much curb on the right hand side there, just right on the line. Really nice exit, gets the power down. Got a yellow flag in sector 1. That's one of the Red Bulls. I believe that is Rick. Moved over to the side for him. Nice and close to the wall from Tick. There it is. That's the name I used to use years ago. It was Tick. Heavy braking zone from the outside. Moves it over very nicely. Just touches the line. Just enough to stay in and just enough to not get invalidated there. Throws himself to the outside for a nice big left-handed sweep onto a big long straight. It is a very fluent track. It's one that I can't say it was one of my favorites back whenever I was driving. I also can't say it's one of my most hated as well. But I hope these guys are enjoying themselves. That's Rocco going to be retiring from the session as well. So we've got Tixie here coming through sector 3 at the moment, down the back straight. He's looking to take over Persigelli to assert his dominance and show why he is on the top step at the minute of the Drivers' Championship. He's going to cross the line. He's not going to be able to take him over. It's a 128 flat that he's going to bring out there. We've got Roy at the minute as well in sector 1. Rick's on an outlap. We've got Legend down there in the Ferrari. Coming through his sort of third sector, slowing down a little bit. I believe that's an AlphaTauri. Is that Shadow in front of him? Yeah, it is. So he's going to be coming through, currently in P4. Isn't able to do anything fast, so he's going to sit there at the moment. We've got Bradley as well, down in P8, going through the second sector in his Williams. A little bit of an update as well. In Formula 1, Williams have finally taken the onboard screen off of the car. James is going to be retiring as well. P9 is good enough for him. Bradley Lane for the Williams, currently in P8, is going to move all the way up to P3. That's going to be the last lap he's going to get in there. But that's the second row for Bradley in the Williams. Quite high up for him. And TC, unfortunately, his teammate, down currently starting in P14. Let's get on with another driver at the minute, who is, if I could find them on the grid, there he is. It's Aussie. Currently in P13. Hasn't actually set a lap yet. We'll have to see if he's actually pushing at the minute. Going through the second sector. The only Alfa Romeo driver. I believe in this game we still class them as Alfa Romeos. It's not the stake F1 team just yet. We're not seeing that black and lime green livery going on. But for the first lap that he's going to put on the board, and the only lap he's going to put on the board, Aussie in P13 is going to cross the line. And he's just going to be enough for P12. So ahead of Verkins. Verkins is going to be starting P13. Rickety then crosses the line. I believe he was behind James in the beginning there, and now he is up into P9, so just inside the top 10. And we have no more drivers on the track. A little bit of an anticlimactic end to the qualifying session. Thanks to myself, but that is how it looks like it's going to be standing for today's session. So rounding off your grid for the race, we've got the two finished drivers. P1 and 2 is going to be Persigelli and Tixi, followed then by Bradley and Roy on your second row. Shadow, Rocco, Jan, Gamma B in with that P8, Rickety and James Taylor rounding off your top 10. Followed by that then we've got Legend, Aussie, Perkins and TC, the only driver who did not get a time on the board today. So the fight's still strong at the front with Persigelli and Tick. They both know what they need to do. 3/10 of a gap there on the qualifying time. I was expecting to see a little bit closer. I mean, as we go further down the field, we'll see it. We see it nice and tight between from like Shadow to Jan there. It's tightening up quite nice. But I believe this session as well. So short qualifying with the race around the Marina Bay circuit. It's going to be 31 laps. I also believe we do not have a formation lap. So I'm going to have to be ready for that. I'm not really going to have much time to continue on with anything. We're just going to get straight into the action. So it's a 5-kilometer circuit. They've got 23 corners and a little bit of history here. So it was built in 2008. And that's also when the first Grand Prix was. And it was actually the Renault team who took the first victory. I believe it was quite a controversial one with Fernando Alonso in this circuit. I don't know the exact details. But that's a little bit of knowledge to go down. So 2008, that feels like yesterday to me. I feel like I'm getting old. But as we prep and as we're waiting for the drivers to get into this session, get ready to go racing, I'm feeling that we're going to see a lot more two-stops today. There's a high chance for possible rain throughout the session. I mean, at the moment, it's a clear night sky. They're going to be lining up in the grid. There's no formation lap, by the way, so 5 lights are on, and it's going to be straight into the racing. It is lights out. And here we go, down into turn 1. Looks like Persigelli is going to be holding up. Tixi on the inside. He's looking to get past him, starting on the hards as well. Persigelli ahead of him in the mediums. We're going to try and get all that detail up. Get everything on so that you can see it all. Seems to be fairly clean so far. Aussie is going to be taking over from Legend. TC as well is going to be moving up. There's a bit of a fight down around the back here. You can see that was the Alfa Romeo of Aussie moving out. Just having a little bit of a nosy. There's a fight going on between Jan and Gamma B as well. Further up, it's the first lap. It's going to be crazy action. Persigelli still holding front. We can see the way the race is starting, so there must be something going on with the what way the track is laid out. We've got a few guys running on the mediums, a few guys running on the hard tires, so there's a possibly we could be seeing a chance of rain coming in a little later on in the session. So these guys are setting them up with some longer stint tires for now. We've a little bit of a caution though, as we've got TC, I believe, down at the back, sliding off. There's a front wing missing there. We didn't quite catch what happened. We've got a VSC out because of it. So I would think we had multiple cars involved in that collision. TC is going to be swinging around and getting himself into the pit. We'll have a look to see if we can get some details on Shadow. See if he was one of the drivers involved with that. But all the drivers now are going to be having to follow the delta, not exceeding that. And it's the VSC. We know TC is going to be coming into the pits. We're going to have to see then, is there anyone else that needs to head in? No, it looks as if it's just going to be TC. So quite an interesting start to the session. Straight in with a virtual safety car. You can see the way the gaps have formed. Not a whole lot with the VSC. You can see the furthest gap that we've got now is down from P10 to P11 between Aussie and Legend. There's about a 3-second gap there from those guys. Other than that, they're all quite close together. It's only lap 2. There's going to be a lot more happening in this 31 lap race. As I believe we are green, so racing is going again. Persigelli looks to have gotten a really nice start off the end of that virtual safety. He's going to want to pull away from Tick. He's got the tires to do so as well, to really build up that gap and really start building that lead on Tixie behind him there. Closest other fight we've got going on at the minute is down here in P6. I believe that's Gamma B, who was edging really, really close to Jan there. And it's actually James in the Mercedes diving down the inside there, pushing him a little bit wide there. Gamma saw him coming. The space was there, and he managed to get past him. You know, I think we should have been on board with the Mercedes there. You'd think. There's a little bit of a fight though. He's coming. Is Rocco at Gamma B as well? Looks like Shadow got ahead of Verkins a little bit further down, but Rocco's chasing down Gamma as well. He was really close last time there, up alongside of him. Into the third sector. He's looking. We can see there's already a 1-second gap pulled by Tixie to Bradley. And we can also see Rocco's teammate Rickety following quite close behind him here, as Roy and Jan are having a little bit of a fight further up as well. I believe that's Jan has fallen down a little bit. A little bit of trouble in the first sector. Very, very close. Gamma B's right behind him as well. Very close. As he's fallen down, I believe there might have been a little bit of contact there. It's definitely been a long time, and there's a whole lot of action going on there. Rickety's moved ahead of his teammate. I believe James was having a little bit of a play with Roy there as well. So we've got a little bit of a scatter going on in the session for the first opening laps. You know, everyone's trying to make up as many positions as they can. TC's the furthest driver back at the moment, who had to call into the pits and get himself a new wing. Jan here is currently chasing down Roy, followed by Rick and Rocco. Rocco's very close to his teammate Rick. I mean, they got to know that they're fighting for points at the minute for the Red Bull team, so they don't want to get too aggressive with one another. Up front though, Persigelli has pulled that 1 second gap on Tixie. As you see, the main excitement is more than likely gonna sit here for now from P4 down to about P8 at the moment. We'll try to stay as close as we can to the action, because that's exactly what everyone's here to see. You know, you don't want to see a car off when it's lonesome, having a little bit of fun. Tixie is catching on Persigelli though. DRS has been enabled for these drivers, so a little bit of a train going on. That's going to add a little bit of speed for them going down the straights. So that's going to be very useful for the likes of Roy here, who's just behind James Taylor. We'll get on with him at the minute. He's going to have DRS behind James. He's not going to be close enough to do anything with it at the moment. He's going to have to tuck in behind him, but he can use it to try to get closer and closer. Wait for his opportunity to strike on him. So Gamma B, it looks like we've got a car inside of one another between Legend and Gamma B here. Not sure what's going on. It looks like, is that Gamma B is currently AI'd. I believe that's how it worked in the past. If someone was in an AI state. they were see-through and everyone could get through them. So currently, if Gamma B's AI'd with that, we'll not have to focus there too much. We've got a safety car out. As I'd like to know what has actually happened here. We're cycling through the drivers, trying to figure out what has happened that has caused a safety car. It looks to be the Ferrari of Verkens. He's also been given a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. So he's going to have to drive through the pits, and he's also going to have to drive in to get a wing. That's 2 pit stops for him. Persigelli's going to be diving into the pits, though, under the safety car. And Tick looks to be staying out. Persigelli did start on the mediums, so this is a really good shot for him. He's going to start on a fresh set of hards. There's a few other drivers coming into the pits here. So Persigelli's in, Jan is in, Rickety's in, Rocco, and Shadow as well. So at the moment, as it stands with the safety car out on the track, we do have Tixie running in P1, followed by Bradley in the Williams. Has done a great job to get himself up there. James Taylor then in the Mercedes, and Roy and Aussie running up top 5. Legend in the Ferraris moved himself all the way up into P6, and Gamma B, I believe he might still be AI'd, so that's going to be more of like an obstacle for these drivers to try to get past. But every other driver behind Gamma B has pitted. We've seen some medium runners here. Some of the guys who started on the hards decided, you know what, I want to go in for a set of mediums. A little bit of a faster tire. Started off from the safety car, whereas Persigelli has decided to go for a fresh set of hards. So if he can keep up the pace and he can get some work done at the beginning of this with the fresher tires, if he can fend off Rickety and the Red Bull behind him, who's on the mediums, he has a chance to get himself built back up there, bring the fight to Tick. He's on those older tires. He will have to pit again at some point. And I wouldn't be surprised if later on in the session we do see another safety car coming out. So lap 5 of 31. Currently as it runs, not a bad day for McLaren. They're on separate strategies here. Same with the Mercedes. So you can see they're definitely they're working together. Mercedes and McLaren are working to stay on separate strategies, to not sort of bunch up. They're really going for the championship points. Bradley there's putting in a good effort for the Williams team. TC currently on 3-lap old mediums, but is also joined back to the pack. So it means he's not out of this race. He's still got some work to do, but he's back in it. So I believe it'll be either this lap or the next lap we'll be looking to have the safety car come in, and then we'll get ready to resume racing. That's going to be on Tixie. As soon as the safety car decides to come in, that's going to be on him to decide, right, car's in, it's my job now, I decide when the race starts. So all the drivers are going to want to make sure their tires are nicely heated, ready to go. Ozzy and Roy having a little bit of fun back and forth there. I believe, was there an overtake? One of them maybe AI, and the other one take full advantage of that. This is the point as well where it would be really nice to have a full sort of easy access replay function. You know, the likes of the safety car coming out with Verkens. Verkens there getting the drive-through penalty, and overall bringing the car into the pits, retiring the car. Not great for Ferrari as far as the standings go, but it'd be nice to have that sort of replay function where I could just, okay, that was the last incident. I want to see exactly what happened there, and you know, we can take from that what the situation in the race is. But I haven't received any kind of notification at the minute to say that the safety car is going to be in. Currently on the second sector. There it is. Right as I mentioned it, race control. Safety car is going to be in this lap, so it's going to be on Tixie now to back up the pack. You can see him slowing all the way down. Some of the drivers are getting really excited. You can see them moved out to the side there. They want to make sure their tires are nice and warm, and they're waiting. As soon as Tixie decides to go, we're going to hop on with Bradley here because we want to see exactly how this is going to go. When Tixie decides to launch himself on, he's on the older tires. The guys on the fresher ones are going to be chomping at the bit to try to get something done with this. And it looks like we are going racing again. Tixie with a decent start there. Bradley managed to hold on quite well. Was pretty ready for it. He was sort of backing off, bringing it on, you know, back and forth with the throttle though. Further down the field, I believe Gamma B is going to actually go up ahead of Legend. So we don't have AI Gamma B anymore. A little bit of a train further back there. We're going to have Persigelli now, who's currently looking at Legend right along the backside of him. It's going to be looking, he's using a little bit of overtake, I believe. They're trying to get out to the outside. Shadow's going to be getting ahead of Jan as well. So Persigelli's got that done. And Rickety as well, taking advantage of the fact that Persigelli's getting ahead of Legend, is going to also throw himself in there with the fresher tires. And Rocco as well getting ahead of Shadow. So Red Bull's trying to move themselves back up the pack. Persigelli here is storming on. He's got Gamma B in front of him at the moment. I mean, and directly in front is all the other drivers. He's got a fresh set of tires. He's going to be charging for Tixie. That's all he's going to want at the moment. So Gamma's going to hold tight there. Or Persigelli, sorry, is going to hold tight there. Rickety's going to be all over the back of him as well, on a faster tire. So it's all about when Rickety can get that thrown up. Rocco's going to get ahead of Legend as well. And Jan and Shadow having a little bit of a scrap there. Shadow on the inside pushing into Legend, I believe, as well. So that's a bit of a three-way battle going on here. Jan's just having a little bit of a look behind them. He's waiting for something to happen so that he can take advantage of this and sort of make the better out of it. There it is. There's the incident he was looking for. A little bit of a squirrely exit from the Ferrari of Legend. Jan sees it, moves out to the inside and gets himself ahead. Rickety having a fight with Aussie here in the first section, or the first sector as well. Does look like he's going to come out on top of that, but ooh, that looked very, very close. For me, it almost looked as if there was a little bit of stability issues with some of the cars there. Rocco's going to be now up with his teammate Rickety. I mean, they've charged through the field really, really well. Rickety's fallen to about a second behind Persigelli. Rocco's going to be going alongside of him, the two Red Bulls. Down into the end of the first sector, Rocco's going to come out on top of that. They're not going to be fighting too hard. They're going to want to work together. They want championship points. Rickety, of course, wants the driver standing points. Aussie, though, is going to move down. He's actually went into a wall. So he's off the track. Gamma's getting a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Aussie's going to be throwing himself all the way back. That's moved TC up into P12. And we're going to get back on board here with Persigelli, because he's 4/10 off of Gamma B in front of him. He's got two Aston Martin cars in front of him. He wants to get ahead of those. He wants to get right behind James, so that whenever the chance comes when James is going to come in for his pit stop, then Persigelli can take over. Or depending on how the pace is between those two drivers, Persigelli's going to maybe want to breeze past James and give him a setup to go and get towards Bradley and Tixie, get ahead of those. So DRS has been enabled here. Persigelli all over the back end of Gamma B, but he hasn't got Rocco too far ahead of him. He's looking at the outside, but he's not going to be close enough to do anything with it. Realistically, Gamma B has got a penalty, so he could stay behind him and, you know, further on in the session, that's going to affect him. But ideally, Persigelli wants to get ahead of him as soon as possible. So that's the closest thing we've got going on so far. Yellow flag in sector 3-1. I believe that could be one of the Alfa Romeos. Persigelli making it look like light work. Down the straight, DRS wide open, pulls off to the inside, gets ahead, gets that position in those fresher tires. So he's got 3 seconds to make up now to the other Aston Martin to get up on Roy, and that'll be for P4. He's doing a stellar job at the moment. You know, we've got Rocco now as well, the Red Bull. He's looking at the Aston Martin of Gamma B. They all want a piece of him. Got a little bit of a train going on here, all the way from P5 down to, I believe, P10 there. Look at Rocco in around the inside. A little bit of a squeeze there. If you could hear it, there was a little bit of a love tap going on between those two. And Rickety then is getting taken by Shadow. He's holding on the inside line. There's 4 cars here heading in. Gamma B is going to be coming back on Rocco. You can see ahead there, getting up alongside of him. And Jan's also in the fight. This is a 5-car scramble at the moment, from Gamma B all the way down to Jan. Currently on with Rickety at P9, who's trying to get back on Shadow there, who fell down a little bit. Rocco's made the better out of this situation. And Shadow now all over the back of Gamma B. Not going to be able to get anything done at the moment, though. It's down that straight. You really have to get that stellar exit on the last corner. That real good launch. Open up the DRS and then get that move done ahead of them. Down into turn 1 and 2. Closer up to the front, though, Tixie has pulled away a bit of a gap. Persigelli then cut down those 3 seconds as if they were nothing on Roy. Up into P4 he goes. Gamma B's getting overtaken by Shadow. There's a bit of everything going on. It's a little bit of a struggle to try to keep up with this, especially off the back end of a safety car. Rickety's getting really close as well. I'm just trying to follow the timesheets at the minute. He's going to be looking at Gamma B. He's on the inside at the moment. He's going to tuck himself back in there. He could have been looking, maybe have known, right, I'm not going to get him this time, but I'm going to pull out of the dirty air, make sure everything's all right. James Taylor, though, is off the track without a wheel as well. Suspension has went bust, so that's going to be another safety car. We just resumed race from one of them. That's really not going to be good for Mercedes as far as constructors goes, because Tixie's currently leading. Persigelli's brought himself back up into P3, and Jan's sitting there in P9. So both McLaren drivers are in the points at the minute. Really good scenario for Tixie, and Mercedes driver of Persigelli is currently sitting in P3. So this is going to be Tixie's chance, though. He's heading into the pits, as anyone would expect. Any of the front runners at the moment that are on those older tires aren't going to be pulling into the pits. I believe Persigelli as well. Everyone's using this opportunity. Is that Rocco that's deciding to stay out on those 6-lap old mediums? So both Red Bulls have decided to stay out. Jan has stayed out. Tixie's on the pit exit at the moment. And with this, that's going to put him into P4, right behind his teammate of Jan. So I would believe that Jan isn't going to fight Tixie a whole lot whenever we come to resuming from the safety car. Really, really good for the Red Bull McLaren team, because it's a 1-2 RB and a 3-4-4 McLaren. Provisionally, though, when you look at tires, Tixie would still be our front runner. As I take a little sip of my water. Because, woo, after a few years, it's coming back to me, the realization of, how taxing it can be on your throat and on your voice whenever you're trying to talk over everything that's happening, especially on a street circuit like this, where you're always going to see a whole lot of action. And trying to keep up with it, that's no easy feat. So, to all those people that are out there that, as Tixie and Jan are going back and forth. Is that even legal? Overtake under the safety car? Or what way was that done? But Tixie's in P3 at the moment. But yeah, where was I? So back to the whole thing. All those commentators, that sit down, have all the energy, are also navigating throughout the drivers on, say, like a full 20 car grid. Massive respect to them. Because back in the past, whenever I was doing commentary consistently and everything, I did have a co-commentator with me, so I was able to keep up with everything crazy that was going on with all the main excitement. So at the front of the pack, maybe if there was a few fights going on through the mid pack and everything, and my co-commentator, whenever I needed to then back off a little bit, he was able to jump straight in and fill me in with what's happening a little further back. If some of the drivers were maybe struggling around certain sections of the track, if they were struggling on their tires, or what time gaps we had, who was looking to close in on who, etc, etc. So to all those that are out there as solo commentators, I have massive respect for you. But safety car is still out. We've got the 2 Red Bulls followed by the McLarens. Bradley holding on to P5 there. Fresh set of mediums. No one has decided for the softs yet, because I'm sure they're all anticipating that there could be another incident further down the line. It would have been really handy as well if I could have had a weather report coming in through. I mean, from the looks of things, it's all dry. Everyone's going for the slower tires. It's more than likely towards the end of the race, some of these drivers, they're all going to dive in for the softs. Try to get that fastest lap, that extra point on the board. Am I going to say it again? So sector 2 at the moment, and I haven't seen anything come up for safety car in this lap, so it's either going to be this lap or the next one. All the cars have caught up to the safety car queue, and they're all going to be ready to go. The guy who I would say, or the guys that are in the most danger at the moment, depends how they're gonna do for these next coming laps. Is the 2 Red Bull drivers, is the likes of Jan on them 7-lap old tires, Shadow down there in P8 at the moment. I mean, it's going to be harder for the Red Bull drivers. I mean, those are mediums; they tend to fall off a little bit quicker than what the hards would. The hards would obviously have a higher life expectancy. So we're just going to see what they're going to be able to do. A little bit of weaving there from the Red Bull guys, trying to keep as much heat in their tires as they possibly can. And I believe we are green. Rickety's going to be on the inside of his teammate. It's just going to be holding off there, but Tick is getting aggressive. I believe he went on the outside there of Rickety. There's a caution there. That's down. I believe that's Jan, who's actually went off the track, has fallen all the way down. So disaster for the Mercedes and McLaren team. I mean, Jan's still in the fight. You can still bring it back and get a couple points on the grid, but back up at the front of the field, we have Tick, who's chasing down Rick onto the inside there. They're going side by side into the corner. Rickety's on the outside. Tick's taking it nice and clean. I don't think there was much of a fight there. Rickety's going to be trying to hold on, of course. There's Gamma B with another time penalty there for multiple track warnings, I would believe. But Persigelli then, 1.2 seconds behind Rickety. Currently running in P4. His rival is just a couple cars up the grid. He wants to charge through these Red Bulls. Just like the Lewis Hamilton dominance, that's what he's going to want to do. Get through them as quickly as possible, so that when DRS and everything is enabled, he's on an even playing field with Tixie. I mean, as far as tires go, they're on an even playing field now. Red Bulls are not. They're going to be a little bit of a struggle. But Sector 2 there, that was a purple Sector 2 from Persigelli. And Bradley is going to pick up a time penalty as well for, I believe, track extension. Multiple warnings, that's 3 seconds added onto his time, where as the way that stands now, that will put him down into P10. So Tixie with the fastest lap, and I believe so. Through the first sector, you can see brilliant exit by Persigelli there. He's looking at the inside, but he knows where he's positioned right now. He's not going to get what he wants. He's going to hold on, get nice and close, and get up alongside Rickety. He's on the outside at the minute. The move's done. He's ahead with plenty of road breath left in front of him. Jeez, I'm really starting to feel it. Mumbling my words, missing words. A little bit more of a fight going. There's Bradley fighting with Rickety along the outside there. Brilliant exit. And a bit of a move in front of Rickety there right before they hit the corner. Rickety's going to fall all the way back into P5. Rocco's doing a great job at the minute of holding himself up in P2, but he's going to have to fend off the Mercedes driver of Persigelli. Further down the field, there's a little bit of fighting going on, but Persigelli here looking for a really good exit on the inside of Rocco. Just another day at the office. That's him back up into P2. He's got 3 seconds from Tixie. So he's got 3 seconds to make up if he wants to get back in with the chance of winning this race. We've got TC then gets ahead of Legend. Williams ahead of a Ferrari. We don't see that too often. I'm sure Legend's not too happy of that, as he's staying close, and he taps into TC. Knocks him off the track, so there's going to be damage there for the cars. And TC is going to be knocked off the track. So DRS is going to be enabled. We've got yellow flags out on track. TC's not going to be happy there. Jan's going to be diving into the pits again. Rickety, I believe what has happened here, he's off the track as well. So from P5 all the way down to P8, there's so much going on the track right now, it's really hard to keep up with everything that's happening. It's actually quite frustrating as well. So we've got Roy at the minute chasing down Rocco up in P5. That's the closest thing we've got going on here. So Rickety, TC, Jan and Legend have all fallen back from the fight. They've got plenty of work to do. Roy here, all along the back of Rocco. We're going to keep an eye on this for a moment to see what happens. I mean, Rocco's got 10 lap old mediums. He's doing a great job to hold this off. I mean, he started in P1 at the end of the safety car and he's moved himself back. He's in P4 at the moment. He's still going to have another stop. We're about halfway through this race, so anything really can happen. You know, anything can happen. Roy could get ahead of Rocco here. He does have a penalty. He's going to be looking on the inside here. Right up alongside him. He's actually on the outside for the next turn here. But Rocco's going to be just ahead here. Nice little switchback. Going through. They're going to keep it clean. They are. It's a nice big wide open straight. You're going to see them going side by side. It looks like Roy's just about ahead there. Into the braking zone. Very, very close. From the two of them, Rocco able to stay up behind him without getting too close. Persigelli then going to set the fastest lap. Has cut that 3 seconds down to about 2 seconds. So that's a second in, I believe, 2 laps. In the space of 2 laps, that's easily a second has been cut down by Persigelli in the Mercedes. The only other thing we've got going on, so we've got this fight between Roy and Rocco we're going to hold on to. We'll keep an eye on the timesheet from Persigelli of how close he's going to get to Tixie here. He's holding at about a 2 second mark at the moment. Rocco's about a second out from Roy. He's trying to hold on, but those tires are getting to a point of where it might be looking like time to switch them out shortly. And then further down the grid, we've got Rickety, who's about 3 seconds back from Gamma B. 4 seconds back. Then we've got Tisu, who unfortunately was rear-ended a little bit by Legend there, who's down currently in P11. Current DNFs of the session is James Taylor, Aussie, and Verkins. So 3 drivers out of 14 have decided to call it quits for today. Unfortunate circumstances. But that's what we call racing. So I believe if I can bring the standings back up on my bring the standings back up here, see how it stands at the moment. Obviously, it's still 1-2 from Persigelli and Tick. Persigelli still holding about 2 seconds there. But that would be Tixie wanting to extend his lead a little bit more. He's got 97 points in the championship at the moment, and Persigelli is currently sitting at 91. So 6 points of a difference. Persigelli is going to want to get up there, get really close to Tixie, bring the fight to him, and maybe try to get ahead of him. A few extra points to get on the grid. Where he's holding at the minute, they would just hold fast. 1 and 2 of where they stand, unless something was to happen further on down the line. And I believe as well, this is actually a really good showing for yeah, so as I'm looking at the standings, currently Rocco sitting with 16 points. He's on par with Bradley at the moment. I'm not too far off of TC. TC's currently holding in P9, so that's a couple points from him, but Rocco's a little bit further up in P5 there. So there is going to be a nice little shift with the standings as it currently is looking. I believe James as well was currently holding in P4. In a way, that's exactly what Rick wants, but with the incident that happened that knocked him down to P8, that's not what he wants. You know, it's a battle back and forth here with what's going on. Currently, as far as the timesheets go, we're starting to sort of mellow out. We're on lap 17 out of 31, over halfway of the race. It's all going to come down to strategy now. I mean, the guys that are going to be coming into the pits the soonest out of everyone at the minute is going to be the 2 Red Bulls. The McLaren of Tixie and Persigelli, they're going to hold it out for a good bit longer. I think the RB guys are doing a great job though on these tires. And then we've got Shadow in the AlphaTauri currently sitting in P6. He'll be looking a little bit further in to come in, and it's more than likely going to be a sort of a soft sprint towards the end of the session. So we'll bring up this menu at the minute. We'll have a little look through different things. That's your leader gaps, penalties at the moment. As it stands, we've got Bradley up there. He's currently in P3, so he's on a podium position, but he's got 6 seconds of penalties. So that would throw him down to P5 there. Or sorry, P4 with Rocco still behind him there. And Roy is currently got 3 seconds. We've got Gamma B with 6 and Legend down in P11 there with 3 for himself. Currently as well, we've got Jan on a 2-stop. Legend stopped twice. Same with Shadow, and Persigelli has stopped twice in this race, but is still holding P2. that just shows how strong the likes of the safety car and everything is. As soon as a VSC or a safety car comes out, the VSC you don't gain as much, but a full safety car you do gain a lot more. It almost mitigates your pit time. It cuts it in half of how much time you're going to lose. So if it's a time of where everyone's going to be looking, okay, this is a great opportunity, safety car's out, we're coming around to the pits now, get in, fresh set of shoes, and get racing again. But Tixie's doing a great job at the minute. They're both on, they're on equal playing field at the minute. He's managing to hold Persigelli from like 2.5 seconds out. Closest fight we've got going is between Rocco, who's actually dove into the pits there. So that's going to be the first of the RB. It's going to head in and pit there. Rickety then, he's going to be staying out for this lap. He's more than likely going to come in the next lap. Rocco then, fresh set of mediums, going to be coming out in P9. So he's going to come back out in P9 at the minute. Quite a ways away from the rest of the pack. We've got Rickety though up in P7 at the minute, who's looking for a little bit of a scrap with Gamma B. We've had a couple laps of silence and now we're starting to get some things rolling, 14 lap old mediums. Rickety's looking at an Aston Martin that he wants to get ahead of. It's really, really close. Let's hop in the onboard cam. Going over the only bridge that's left. Out on the outside, looking for the switchback. Look at the way he's coming in there. Goes into the corner nice and wide, tries to get a nice cut to get a better exit. Does quite well. Down the back straight, then we've got a yellow flag out on sector 3. I think that's Rocco gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple ones as well. Rickety with a little bit of a tap to the wall there as he's coming into the pit. And I believe that is Bradley in sector 3. Wonder if we can see his car anywhere. Don't know if he's went off the track or if he's just sort of went into the pits. But it's going to be a DNF as well for Bradley. So the Williams team that was doing really well, it's now on TC, who's on 9 lap old hards, has moved himself up into P6. Jan's going to get ahead of Rickety here via the pit stop. Persigelli's still holding at a 2.5 second gap between himself and Tixie. So the closest thing we've got going on at the minute is going to be TC Gaming, who's about 1.2, 1.3 seconds out from Gamma B. The two Red Bulls have gotten themselves a fresh set of medium tires. So that's Bradley going to jump out. He's going to join our retirees. So that's a Williams, a Mercedes, an Alfa Romeo, and a Ferrari. They're going to be retiring from this session. Looks like TC is closing in just that little bit every lap here. He's almost within that DRS range of Gamma B. Now for as someone who on the opening of this session, who got knocked all the way down to P14, he also had a very bad qualifying as well. I think he's done a really, really good job to get to where he is now. Gamma B is going to be heading into the pits. Probably going to be setting himself up with a fresh set of mediums. Possibly, I wonder, is it a stretch now to put on the softs, or would it be alright? It seems to be he's going for the softs, so the first driver to come into the pits and set himself up with a set of soft tires is going to be Gamma B, and in the pits it's going to be Rocco and Jan get ahead of him there, and Rickety is going to drop all the way down to P9. I mean, essentially what he could do here is he could be looking to take the fastest lap away from the front runners, take that 1 point away from them. That would help out Roy up there, who's on 10 lap old mediums. Shadow's doing a good job at the minute, but they're all still looking like they're going to want to pit, so they're going to try and extend as much as they can. They'll all be on softs soon. It looks like the Red Bulls, though, on the mediums, they could be looking to run this out for the rest of the race, so this could be their final stint. Whereas we've got drivers like Tixie, Persigelli, and Roy, who could be looking to extend a little bit further and then coming in for the softs to finish out on quite a fast stint. I believe they do burn away quite quickly as well, with it being quite hot temperatures, and you know, the rubber just starts to melt that little bit quicker. At the moment we're on with TC. Got Gamma B has AI'd, I believe, from the session, so we'll not see too much happening with those softs. So Persigelli and Tixie, which one of them is going to come into the pits first, do you think? Is Persigelli going to get the undercut, or is Tixie going to wait him out and overdo it? Closest thing we've got so far is Rickety, who's trying to get up on Jan in the McLaren. So it's a Red Bull versus McLaren, P8 and P7 at the minute. Rickety's going to want some more points than what he's got at the moment, 100%. Currently a really nice gap though when you look at it for the front runners. I mean, 14 seconds from Roy to Shadow, and again from Shadow to TC, we've got another 10 seconds there. That's 24 seconds. You know, so that's really good for the likes of Tixie and Persigelli here, who Ricky and Jan. I was watching that and almost half missed it. It was happening so quick there. Rickety just about getting ahead of him. Really lighting up those fresh mediums. Jan's going to be falling back into P8. He's going to want to try and hold on here. We'll see how well he can do that, or if Rickety, now that he's gotten himself into clean air, is going to be able to start storming away. He's got 12 seconds back from his teammate Rocco. He is currently going to be fighting with TC as well. Rocco does, I believe it's a 3-second penalty he's currently sitting with at the moment. So whoever he managed to get ahead, or wherever he currently is, he's going to want to have 3 seconds of a gap to the person behind him if he's going to want to hold position. And at the moment, as it stands, he would still stay in P6. He's all over the back end of TC there in the Williams, who's on those older hards. Brilliant use of the track there. Great exit on the last corner. He's going to be looking to push himself, using as much of the slipstream as he can, getting out to the inside, making it work into turn 1. On the inside, very close there from TC, all over the back of him. But Rocco's going to make that work, as expected, with those fresher tires, with the DRS, with a brilliant exit. He's going to move himself up into P5. He's got 11 seconds now to make up if he wants to get the Shadow. Shadow should be looking to come in fairly shortly. And there hasn't really been much action at the front of the grid at the moment. I mean, Tixie and Persigelli, they've been holding quite steady for the past 10 laps or so. About 2.5 seconds of a gap between them. So there you can see at the minute our current front runner, that's Tixie in the McLaren, who is currently leading the Drivers' Championship and is looking to extend that lead at the minute. See him, and you can see just in the background there, 2.5 seconds back, you can see Persigelli as well in the Mercedes. Tixie really has just made this track his own today. So lap 24 of 31. We have about 7 laps remaining in this race. Are these guys going to try and extend out the mediums to run for 20 laps? I'm not too sure. I have a feeling they're going to start feeling them burning up a little bit really soon. Let's hop on board and see if we can see any kind of signs that they're starting to drop off a little bit. I mean, I know the detail has been sort of upgraded as the F1 games have progressed. Sadly, I haven't been around to see it as it goes. So on a different note, as I'm trying to, you know, keep up with everything that's going on and really try to fill those gaps as I'm solo at the minute and everything. For those of you sitting watching at home at the minute, from what you've seen today so far, who would you say has done had the best drive so far? Is our own little personal driver of the day. It's nothing big, crazy, or official or anything, but for those of you sitting watching at home, who do you think at the moment has done the best job so far? We'll bring up as well on the screen just a little bit of data. See if I can figure this out of how many positions gained, etc. So there we are. There's position gains a minute. As it stands, TC has worked up 8 positions from starting last on the grid. Tixie's up 1. Rickety's moved up 2. Unfortunately for Yan and Gamma, they've dropped down 1 each. And Persigelli, who started on pole position, is currently on in P2 as we've got a yellow flag in sector 1. Didn't quite see who that was. I saw a little bit of orange on my screen whenever that yellow flag came out, so as soon as I saw that come out, I was thinking, wait, is that in front? Do we have to go and look up here? I mean, you can see Persigelli's cutting down a couple tenths there on Tixie. Cutting down a couple tenths on Tixie, but not quite enough. The thing to watch out for at the moment though is Rickety there. He's currently holding on P7 and he's gaining on TC Gaming. So one of them's on 15 lap old hards. Rickety's on a fresher set of mediums. He's going to finish out the race on those tires and he's currently running in P7. Going to want to get up into P6 because we want to see a 5 and 6 from the Red Bull team. He's 4 tenths behind him. This should be a sort of textbook overtake from Rickety. And you can see the difference in the pace on the tires that they're on. So Rick's not going to want to be too hasty. He's going to want to look for where it is. He's going to move out now to the inside, up alongside of them. Very close, but plenty of space is given by both drivers there. TC is going to be fighting it though. He's not going to want to give that up too easily. But at the end of it, Rickety's going to make it solid. He's going to make it work. Up into P6 he goes. Rocco's done a really good job as well, if you look at it, catching his way up towards Shadow, who's on some really old hards. You know, Rocco's building out that gap so that he's going to hold his position. Gamma B's going to be falling down into P10 there, but Rocco's going to be building himself up at the minute. He's got an 11-second gap from Rickety, his teammate, so he would hold P5 if he were to finish. But if he could cut down that 3.5 seconds on Shadow, as I'm sure he's really feeling it with the tires, if he could cut that down on Shadow and build another 3 seconds in the 4 laps we have remaining of this session, we're on lap 27 out of 31. So there is a shot there, but he currently, as it sits, he would be holding in P5. And if you're only joining us now, this is round 10 of the PowerF1 Pro Series Drivers' Championship. Currently being led by Tixie. Chased down by Persigelli. They're still just holding as steady as they can. I had a little thought in the back of my head that we would see a little bit of a soft stint from some of the drivers here, more towards the end of the session. But when you look at it and where we are in the session, how many laps we've got remaining, there's a yellow flag there with Legend and Gamma, I believe. Legend's going to be pulling into the pits. He picked himself up another penalty there. I think he was having a little bit of a scrap with Gamma. They were going back and forth for a little bit there. But yeah, no, as it sits, it looks like they're all just going to sort of hold fast where they are at the moment. Few laps left remaining in this session, and it's looking like Tixie is going to be taking home the victory for this. I'm going to see, is it like the old ones where we could go into our race director and have a little bit of a look to see a little bit of data, so we can view some lap times here. We've got Tixie's here, the hard and the medium. Persigelli as well. which I believe it would be Persigelli at the minute, or Gamma B that will be currently holding the fastest lap at the moment. You can really see how what's the word? How washed up I am when it comes to F1, when it comes to commentating, when it comes to everything. But we're doing all right. We're getting there. P5 then, Rocco at the minute in the Red Bull has cut down those 3 seconds to 1.2 on Shadow ahead of him in the AlphaTauri. Got 3 laps remaining in the session. He would have to three laps remaining in the session. He would have to get by Shadow right now and really start pushing and pull out basically a second a lap on him if he was going to want to secure a P4 finish. Rickety is cut down by about 2 seconds there as well. The past lap, he's looking like a solid P6 for him today. But one of the most important things that we're seeing across the board as well, yeah, you can be crazy fast. Like say Rocco here at the minute, he's doing a great job on catching up to Shadow. But ultimately what can hold you back in the end is the way you drive. And sometimes it can be due to incidents on track with other drivers that, you know, really can't be helped. And I believe there is a way with the likes of the out of race, the FIA and everything, of having penalties brought back depending on what they're for. But driving cleanly, staying within the track limits is a major thing. And that's something I like to focus on back in the day. It may not have been the quickest, but I know I always kept it on track. Rocco then done into turn 1. Really close at the minute to Shadow. He's going to want to get a really good exit there. You saw the rear end of Shadow there kick out a little bit on him there. Struggling to keep the traction and to keep the car glued to the floor. Rocco's going to be looking at it. You can see him very close. Don't know if he's quite close enough to make something. He's having a little look, a little bit squirrely there. See a little wobble onto the outside and does actually get ahead of him there. That was a little bit unexpected. Didn't expect him to be able to, you know, get moved out there, get really lead on the braking and just throw himself around the outside. Really good job from Rocco there. So lap 29 out of 31, Rocco's managed to get ahead of Shadow. He hasn't pulled a second on him yet, but he needs 3 seconds if he wants to stay ahead of him. I just want to clarify that as well, because I could be saying something and be completely wrong. We'll go into penalties here. Yeah, it's a 3-second penalty for Rocco. So he would have to pull out, like I said, a second a lap there. 1 lap 30 out of 31. It's quite unlikely there. He will concede that position again due to penalties. Back to Shadow, who's on the longest lasting set of hards. TC's quite close behind him there, holding a P7, and Rickety another 2 seconds there to the likes of Shadow and Rocco ahead of him. The fight at the front as well, looking kind of textbook. Tixie up in front there, Persigelli not quite able to get up to him to bring the fight in. You know, he's 2.5 seconds back, but he also hasn't dropped back. So when you look at that, you would think, okay, they're quite even on pace there, you know, if they're holding that sort of area. But really would have liked to see for these closing laps of Persigelli really just pulling it out of the bag and getting quite close to him. That would have made it very exciting. But we've got 2 more rounds after this. This is the after this, I believe we're going to Bahrain next week, or in a couple of weeks, and then Abu Dhabi after that, and that will finish off the Pro Series Drivers' Championship. So as we were sitting at the minute as well, Jan down in P8, he's a 1.5 seconds off from TC. Both of them no penalties. Could we see a last lap bout between these two if he gets close enough? Speaking of last lap, we have entered the last lap of this session. So at the moment we're on Tixie from Persigelli, from Roy here, and Rocco both sitting with penalties at the moment. But would Roy, I believe, would hold fast where he's at. Rocco would have to drop back down into P5. It's been a really good drive today from Tixie. Some real good use of the safety car. Unfortunate that his teammate fell back a little bit there. Great drive from Persigelli as well. He had a little bit more of a fight on his hands with the, I believe, the virtual safety car in the beginning of the session. He decided to pull in, get himself a fresh set of tires. As he started on the mediums, moved on to then the hards, pulled them out for a little bit longer, fought through the field, got himself back up into that position where he's fighting with Tixie. You can see him dropping back just a little bit there. But as we're going through the second sector, of the track. And I believe down in P8 will hop over real quick just before anything happens. He's really looking to get ahead of TC here. I just want to keep an eye between this as Tixie is entering into Sector 3 here. Jan, his teammate, is really looking at TC at the minute. We're just going to keep an eye on that timesheet as we go throughout the last section. But it's going to be Tixie then, rounding the last couple of corners. He's had an amazing drive so far. Looks like Jan is going to get ahead of him up in the P7 for the McLaren team, but it's going to be Tixie coming around the final corner across to the pit wall. A little bit of a celebration for his team there. Is going to take the victory here at the Marina Bay Circuit, Singapore. See Persigelli there getting up ahead of him. He's going to finish in second place. Roy's going to come across and for third place here. So it's going to be Tixie from Persigelli. Roy's going to come across to finish himself up in P3, the last step of the podium. Rocco then 2.6 seconds. He's almost done it. He got really, really close. He put in a really good effort there. It was just unfortunate with that penalty that Shadow's going to be able to take him over and move up into P4 then. So P5 for Rocco. Rickety's going to come across into P6. Jan then, that last fight with TC, gets himself up for P7 as they're rounding the last couple of corners. They're going to be the last drivers we're going to see coming through. Brilliant drive from TC, starting at the back of the grid. And that is going to be the Singapore Grand Prix coming to a close here at PowerF1. Drive of the day is going to be given to Rickety there in the Red Bull. Really good drive from both the Red Bull guys. But here we are onto the podium step. It's going to be Tixie taking that top spot. Persigelli number 2. Then Roy finishing out the podium. Massive congratulations to you guys. And that's going to be Tixie extending his lead of the Drivers' Championship as well. So we've got 2 races left for these guys to put in their best effort to try to take home this championship. I mean, it's still possible. You know, it's still very possible for Persigelli to bring it back, to bring the fight to Jan. Or not Jan, sorry. Tixie. Sorry to get your hopes up there, Jan. But it's going to be the finishing positions for this Grand Prix. It's going to be Tixie taking home the top spot, followed by Persigelli in P2, and Roy finishing off your podium, followed by Shadow in the AlphaTauri, Rocco and Rickety for a Red Bull 5 and 6, followed by Jan then in the McLaren holding of where he started in this session, TC Gaming then in P8, followed by Legend in P9 and Gamma B in P10. Unfortunately then for Bradley, James, Aussie and Verkins that were not able to finish this session. Gamma B is going to be taking home the fastest lap of the session, so taking that away from Tixie. So no extra fastest lap point for those guys. But it was a brilliant session today. I'm going to switch back over to this screen here as we just sort of round out. My name is Logan. It's been an absolute pleasure to be your commentator. It would be nice for me to sit down and get a bit of a chat with some of the drivers, you know, and get to know how their session went. But unfortunately, we won't be able to do that today, as this session realistically was a little bit of a last minute throw together. As someone who hasn't, you know, done this in a long time, didn't have everything set up. Thank you very much, Rickety, for sitting with me for a little bit before this and, you know, preparing for this session. And thanks everyone else for an absolutely amazing session to watch. It was a great first session back, and you know, hopefully we could look to the future of where you could maybe see me commentating a little bit more. Maybe being able to grab someone else along with me to make it a little bit more interesting and not having as many gaps, because I know that's one thing that everybody hates whenever they're watching a race, is when you get those silent moments, or when something's happening a little bit further down the field and it's just not caught, you know, either caught on camera or by those that are spectating and sort of passing on all that sort of information. But aside from all that, it's been an absolute pleasure to be your host and commentator tonight. I hope you all enjoyed tonight's session. I hope you have a brilliant rest of your evening, great rest of your weekend. Take care. Bye-bye for now.